So the 2024 Go Bowling at the Glen absolutely delivered this weekend in the NASCAR Cup Series, the second of 3 rounds in the round of 16. There's 4 guys that are going to be eliminated after the next race at Bristol, but who is looking good and who isn't? Well, it was, like I said, a very much a surprise race in terms of who was up there at the top and also who actually won the race as well, but I'll get into all that as we go through this video. So here are the 5 things that we learned from the 2024 Go Bowling at the Glen. So I'll start from the start of the race where Ross Chastain led away from pole position. There was some chaos behind at the start. I will touch on that very shortly for my second point, but in truth, Ross Chastain was absolutely untouchable during this first stage. Now, he actually did pit, which was the optimum strategy overall for the race, but some drivers did stay out, one of those being Martin Truex Jr., who won stage 1, which is very important for his playoff charge. So yeah, Chastain was the fastest driver in stage 1 without a doubt, because the strategy ended up dropping back and then Truex Jr. got the stage point for that. I want to talk though about Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin had such a bad day, such an eventful day for all the wrong reasons. Like I was alluding to there in my first point, he was caught up in that first lap drama. It looked as though Kyle Busch kind of spun by himself. There was someone who locked up his brakes ahead of him that might have put him off a bit with the smoke and stuff. But Kyle Busch, he ended up spinning through the chicane on the first lap. A bunch of drivers got caught up in that, Denny Hamlin being one of them. And then late on in the race, just skipping ahead with this one, late on in the race as well, Hamlin, unfortunately, he ended up trying to go 3 wide with, I can't remember who was in the middle, but it was Kyle Larson on the inside. And it was 100% Hamlin's fault in my eyes, I'll be honest. He was trying to go into a space that was always going to disappear from him, unfortunately. So yeah, he had a really bad day. Ended up classifying down in 23rd. I mean, 24th and 23rd in his 2 playoff races so far is not good. And as it stands at the moment, he is going to drop out of the playoffs. He is classified in P13. Very, very unlucky for him. If he gets up to 12th at the next race at Bristol, he will be safe and go to the round of 12, but it's not looking good for him as things stand. The third thing I want to talk about though is stage 2. Now, Shane Van Gisbergen, unsurprisingly, was a guy that I was very much looking forward to seeing this weekend. He's someone who's going to be in the Cup Series full-time next year. This year he's making the odd appearance here and there, mainly at road courses and also the Chicago street track as well. He has had a run of races recently though, and using that experience, he was very much up there near the front. Ross Chastain as well, again, proving that he was very good in this stage. But it was unfortunately for SVG, it was Chastain who ended up winning, but these two were very much the class of the field in the second stage. But as good as winning the stage is, it was actually quite bad for them in a sense, because both of them wanted to pit. Unfortunately though, I think it might be Chastain's teammate, I know it's one of their teammates, but Daniel Suarez ended up spinning literally a few laps before the end of the second stage. Pit lane closed as a result of this and they couldn't pit. Yes, they were 1 and 2 at stage 2, but that very much put them on the back foot when it came to strategy, or so we thought anyway. So stage 3, there was a few cautions happening in here, and it was slowly building towards the end where things typically get a little bit more eventful, shall we say. I mean, there were a few cautions going on. Byron and Keselowski, that was actually quite a nasty crash going through the S's. I think it was Byron who ended up riding on top of Keselowski's car and almost going out of the track as well. Thankfully, there was a triple arm code there rather than a double one. If it was a double, he probably would have ended up in the advertising haulage, but thankfully both okay with that. That did end up alluding to, or at least contributing towards, eventually going to overtime. But the main one, in fact, though, was a puncture where debris ended up going on the track as a result. We went into overtime, and the 5th thing that we learned is that anything can happen in overtime. And it was an incredible restart from SVG in the overtime. He ended up getting the lead briefly, despite, I think he restarted P4, something like that. So incredible, really, to come up, despite the strategy not being good for him because of the caution and the pit lane closing. He was still in it for the win. But then Chris Buescher, he ended up giving a bit back. I didn't really spot when Van Gisbergen had a go at Buescher earlier on in the race, but apparently he did, and Buescher repaid that favour. Ended up just tapping him wide basically on the final lap. SVG did everything he could to try and overtake, but in the end, it was Buescher who stunningly won the Watkins Glen race in NASCAR this year. Buescher is not in the playoffs, so he will not make it through to the round of 12 as a result, as is normal if you win in this round of the playoffs. But yeah, incredible stuff. Seeing a non-playoff driver win a race at this stage of the season is very rare, but there we go. All kinds of craziness happening. I mean, if you look at the playoffs right now, Austin Cindric is in second. Austin Cindric is in second place. I think he was 19th in the regular season, something like that. He wouldn't have even been in the top 16 had he not won a race. Yeah, incredible stuff that's going on. Chris Bell actually leads the championship as well, and that's despite him getting spun out, trying to go into the pit lane as well. The NASCAR is just going incredible, as it always does in the playoffs. I'll just give a quick readout of which drivers are in the... Well, I'll just do the standings very quickly. So Chris Bell's top, Cindric second, Logano third, Bowman fourth, Suarez fifth. That's despite him spinning out. He ended up recovering eventually. Tyler Reddick sixth, Chase Elliott seventh, Blaney eighth, Lawson ninth, Byron 10th, Briscoe 11th, Gibbs 12th, Hamlin 13th. This is in the drop zone as well, so anybody from Hamlin down is going to be out as things stands. Keselowski, Truex Jr. and Burton at the bottom. So I will be doing some build-up as I always do to the next race in Bristol. And of course, I will also be going through who is looking at under pressure basically to drop out of the playoffs. Hope you enjoyed my rundown of what happened at the Glen. As always, guys, it was an eventful race. It always is around a road course in NASCAR. These cars should not be driven around these well, they're not usually driven around these courses anyway. So it's very eventful and very fun seeing how they get on with this. But yeah, for much more NASCAR content in the meantime, do keep it tuned here to the NASCARchronicle.com.